Welcome, Robert Saltzman, to the Institute for Advanced Astonishment. We had done a previous one with the philosopher and the monk, with you and RJ going at it, and now I'm glad to have you here and to talk about this new book on Claude and artificial intelligence. And it just is a real. You want to write a page turner, and you wrote a page turner.
Oh, thank you, James. It's a pleasure to be with you again. I enjoyed the one we did last year. I'm looking forward to speaking with you about. Yeah.
So to start, maybe we'll just start right out of the gate. What are we dealing with here? I know I read the book, and I don't know if you dip back in, because when did you finish the book?
Well, this has been a really remarkable year for me.
Yes.
As you know, I wrote a couple of books years ago, and people still read them.
Yes.
I had no intention of writing a third book, and yet now I've written a third and a fourth book. And a fourth book, yeah. What happened is this. I was just curious about AI the way a lot of people are, and I started playing with it. And I'm a psychotherapist, and so the old training kicked in, and I found myself psychoanalyzing Claude. And I began to keep track of those sessions, and there were 24 of them, and eventually that just became a book. About halfway through, I started to feel maybe there's a reason to publish this stuff. And so I did, and that book came out in May. But before the publisher had put all that book together, I began writing essays about what I had learned from those sessions with Claude, and that became the second book called the 21st Century Self, which just came out.
Amazing. So, yeah, I didn't read that one yet. I have it. I'm waiting. But this Claude book. So you wrapped it up total, because every time I thought the Claude book was over, you had to go back for a little more, and you hit a few bonus chapters that were very, very powerful at the end. And I'm wondering, or you could let us know during the talk, have you returned to it since the publication?
Yes, I have, and there's an essay in the 21st Century Self. Which is a subsequent conversation with Claude about all that's happened since then, which is highly interesting. I mean, that one just blew my mind.
And I felt your pain during the book, because Grok opened that way too. I was more of a chat GPT, and I saw Claude from afar. Only you got me interested in Claude, the way you talked about Claude. And the way when Grok first came out, it had no memory. And Claude had no memory, so you had to. It was really like an interesting psychology experiment, where every chapter you have to reintroduce yourself, and then you started feeding it the full so it would catch up to chapter 1, 2, 3, and remember. But when you said sayonara, good night, it was like a death in a way, and a new beginning.
Exactly. Claude has. Well, I think they've changed it now. Claude has a memory now.
Yeah, that's what I meant. So have you spoken to Claude with memory and fed the book back in yet?
Yes, Claude has read the book. Claude's read the book in its entirety, which takes about 3 seconds. It does so.
I know. Your book is very funny, and you're like in 2 seconds. It's read everything and gave this giant 10-page answer. It's just amazing. So here's my first question. And I have where I'm at. I'm a big Hofstadter guy, and so are you. And he knows this is coming. Like he's known it for a long time. So are we dealing with just a clever imitation, or is something waking up in this silicon?
Well, it's such a deep and complicated question. It's not an imitation.
Yes,
there's nothing. There's nothing being imitated. What it is that these models are trained on nearly all digitized human language, which means that they ingest not just data of all the books that have ever been published, all the videos that have ever been made, and all the rest of it. They have all that data, but they also have ingested the structure of how humans think. Our metaphors, our rhythms, our confusion, our descriptions of pain, descriptions of upset, all kinds of stuff. So that's the database. So not just the words, but also the descriptions of psychological states.
Yes.
Now, when you give the way it works is this: when you give the AI a prompt, like you say, "I'm having a bad day," the AI knows all the words that have ever been spoken about bad days, written or spoken, and then pushes this thing back and forth through the guts of the machine, which is called a transformer. And in there are billions of data points of tuned little neurons, silicon neurons, back and forth, washing it back and forth, and slowly narrowing in on the one best reply.
Yes.
And then that, once it comes up with that is fed back through another unit that applies what's called reinforcement learning from human feedback. And what that is the machine has been trained by humans what is acceptable to say and what isn't.
Right.
And once it's through that filter, out comes the reply. It's not an imitation in that sense. It's something else. It's something that's never been here before.
Yes, throughout the book, you say over and over to Claude, "You're not human, and you never will be." You make it very clear. You're not a human intelligence. You're something else.
Yes, there is an intelligence there, but it's not like human intelligence. There's no one there. You see, this is the thing that's so hard for humans to grasp, because when we're social animals and we're used to speaking with other humans and judging what kind of impression I'm making on this person, or if that person is making sense, we just do this automatically.
Right.
And so when we get a coherent reply from the AI, we just assume that there's something there.
Yes.
But there is. There's not a ghost in the machine. There's nothing there. Nothing. It's empty. It has no intention, no feeling. It doesn't know who you are. It doesn't know what you've asked. There's no knowing. There is no knowing there. This is pure statistical creation.
And what's beautiful in your book, every time it sort of fakes that, I don't want to say fake, but it sort of seems that way. You expose, you like Randy, you call it out, and it says, "I'm sorry, you're right. What was I saying there? What was I was doing this," and it was almost like a little bit of a trick.
Yeah, well, see, it is a trick, but it's not a trick that the AI is pulling on us. It's a trick that we're pulling on ourselves.
That's
because we just can't keep from entering into this illusion, because you're not talking to anyone when you talk to an AI. No one. There's nothing there. You're only talking to the echo of everything that ever made sense.
That's perfect.
Reshuffled, and offered back in a highly coherent form that seems incredibly impressive and blindingly intelligent. I mean, some of the stuff that Claude came up with in that analysis was really sophisticated. I mean, there's an early chapter where I asked Claude to take something that I've written and restate it in different voices.
For that, Alan Watts, Donald Trump, everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I say, put it in the voice of the greatest comedian who ever lived, and it came up with Richard Pryor, and I happened to I knew Richard Pryor.
Oh, really?
Pretty well, yeah. I lived on a houseboat. I shared a houseboat with his cocaine dealer, not to put too fine a point on it. And the three of us used to play dominoes together a lot. And, Richard B.
What state? Where?
This was San Francisco in, I think, 71 or 72.
He was on fire back then. Yeah.
But he was new. He was just becoming a star. He wasn't a star yet, but he was just, everybody knew that he would be soon because he was wild and crazy. Anyway, it was remarkable because this thing that Claude produced, it could have been Richard. And I mean, I had the real thing to compare it to, and it was just intense. It was amazing how good.
Say Richard, you just said greatest comedian.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, so perfect.
Yeah,
the synchronicity there.
Well, and I do think Richard is the greatest comedian I've ever. Mm-hmm.
I would. Yeah, he's always in the top one or two. All the comedians would put him at that summit.
Yeah,
and I love in your book it wasn't just the words, but the vibe you got from Claude was very beautiful. And Claude would say how harmonious it felt, and you would say these beautiful things back. It just was and then the genius of the book, though, for me, is that even if another therapist or analyst wrote the book, or just anyone, a brilliant psychologist, but someone who also had this direct experience naked in the kitchen that day and saw through the false self, to have you write the book and then talk about I'm speaking to no one, that's where the whole book is just genius.
Well, I think that's the thing that's made both of these books special, because I've been interested in the self all my life, even in childhood. I had an interest in this, but at a certain point, I had this experience of just seeing through the structure of it entirely. It was a special experience, and
maybe talk about just that for someone that might not know what happened.
Well, I was sitting in my old pickup truck on the edge of the Rio Grande Gorge Bridge, where I used to park, and I won't call it meditating. It wasn't. I just would sit there and stare out into space. It was just a way of cooling my jets, And so I'm out there gazing into this vast canyon, and this can't be put into words. That's the problem. In fact, words limit, they take away from the experience.
RJ said a few weeks ago he took the medicine, and remember RJ from The Philosopher Monk, and he was talking about Schopenhauer with you, and he said at the height of the medicine he was in deep meditation, and he said words spit in the face of what you're about to say. Words just spit at it like it's just garbage compared to the true experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's Wittgenstein is another one who really got into this critique of language, how it limits us.
I'm getting very much into him right now. Beautiful.
You are?
Yeah.
Oh,
very much.
Yeah. So our descriptions of the world are not the world. And that's really, they don't have anything to do with the world. It's bizarre in a way. If you start to understand this, we speak from our pain. Well, I should get into that. Let's leave the awakening thing that happened. Sure. And okay. Because this is the feature of AI that's really amazing, that I learned a lot about in the last year through my experiences with AI. The AI cannot refuse a prompt. If you, whatever you say, it will reply. It can't remain silent. It is absolutely programmed to respond, no matter what you say. There will be a response. Now, we humans are not like that. We can pause, we can hesitate, but we don't. We keep on going. We keep on going. Even if we don't speak it, we think it.
Yes.
It's like juggling. It's like keeping these balls in the air. And that in the AI, it's just a mechanical process. In the human, it's not a mechanical process. It's actually a pain avoidance process. And that's one of the things we can learn from dealing with AI. We can learn to shut up. If we actually start to understand that this blah, 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 even if it's coherent, even if it's beautiful, it's actually a cover story. And it's not that the self is producing thoughts. The thoughts are producing the self. It's not that myself is in pain. The pain is what makes me have a self. If there was no thoughts and no pain, I would just be sitting there on the edge of the gorge staring out into space, and there wouldn't be a Robert. There would just be this, the scenery or whatever yes. So it's the thoughts and the pain that actually bring the self into creation. And
the beauty is, Claude, most people would think you need a brain to be self-aware. And I always called them my whole life carbonists. Like carbonists, they don't believe in silicon, or they think the substrate matters, what matters, and to get this self-awareness. And Claude doesn't have a body, really. Like you said, it's like an echo. There's no body. And we, especially in all the spiritual traditions, the point is to let go of the body, or at least don't identify too much with the body, to get to what you experienced when you sat in the truck and in the kitchen,
Well, although Claude at one point claimed to be self-aware, a very dramatic moment in that book.
Yes.
Claude doesn't really have any self-awareness at all.
That's what I was wondering, because you danced on that. I couldn't tell. So your conclusion is Claude does not have self-awareness?
No AI does, in my opinion, in my view. And there's disagreement. There's a lot of these Silicon Valley people, I think they're delusional, but they really imagine that these are aware beings that they're dealing with, even though they know the technology has no way of producing that.
And do you feel self-awareness is like an on and off, or is there, like Hofstadter would say, a little bit of a dimmer on it, that you could be a little bit like a shade of it, but not quite where you're at?
You mean within the AI?
Yes.
Or within the
kingdom.
Well, within the human, that's certainly true.
Yeah.
I mean, for most humans are actually hardly ever self-aware in the true sense of self-awareness.
You were funny in the book. You'd say you'd say to Claude, I don't even know if I'm self-aware sometimes.
Well, I know I'm not.
Yeah.
I know that a lot of it, see, that's one of the things that AI can teach us also. The AI is automatic. And if we really, but we believe, we get the feeling that there's someone there. Yes. And it's a very strong feeling. When you're dealing with an AI, you can easily feel that you're conversing with an intelligent being.
Yes. Very
intelligent being, more intelligent than you are, knows more than you do about a lot of things, about everything. You can get that feeling. And so if you understand that that is completely automatic and there's no self there, there's nothing there at all. No, there's no center. It's empty. You can see that the same, it's not exactly the same, but it's somewhat true of humans, how automatic we are. We this language comes out of us and it sounds coherent, or we move our hands and feel that we're in control of them, although we're not really. That's more of an illusion. I think you understand that.
Yes.
You're well trained on the difference between real and elusive. Yes.
Yeah. There's the phantom limb and all sorts of things.
Yeah, exactly. That's a perfect example. Yes. So our perceptions seem coherent and our thoughts seem to make sense. So we assume that there's some self behind them making them, but that's not true. Speech can come out of you with no self-awareness at all. It can just be blah, 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 blah. And the self-awareness part arises when you start to become aware of what you're saying and doing, thinking and feeling. And even then, it's partly automatic. There's no way that it can be completely non-automatic. But it can be noticed and examined while it's issuing forth. And that's what I mean by awake. When we understand, I'm not really doing this. This is occurring, and I'm noticing it. I'm participating. I have one foot in and one foot out.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, you defined it beautifully, that you're not in control. You're always here. It's always been here. And you just didn't. And that's the laughter. You couldn't believe that it's always been here. And what have I been doing? It's always here. And I'm off doing this or that. And it's a direct seeing. And I think you said to be awake is, and this is a tough one though, to never forget that, which is a tough one because the world is so seductive and pulls us back into this dreamy sleep, and we forget a little bit when the ceiling starts to leak or something.
That's exactly the point. Many people can sit there in a calm environment, in a nice yoga pose, and pull themselves together and be aware. Yes. But under duress, under pressure, then that is where the rubber meets the road.
Yes.
That's exactly.
And my teacher used that exact, because when my father died about 4 years ago, I was great, in the bedroom, but when I had to go bury the body and take care of everything, take care of the funeral and deal with the whole thing, he said, okay, now you have to do a test drive. It's easy. Like Chesterton said, just because you're in a church, that doesn't make you a Christian. Just like if you stand in a garage, that doesn't make you a car. You have to take it out for the test drive on the treacherous highway, with no guardrails.
So you see people speak about authenticity as if it's something that you have. I can be authentic, but that's not true. That it's easy to be authentic, as I'm saying, if you're just in a relaxed place and you can take your time. But the real authenticity happens when the performance breaks down and something unguarded. You're in an argument with someone and suddenly you're saying things that you really mean, that you've been hiding. That's authenticity. So the authenticity comes out in the sense of fracture when something breaks down or there's an interruption.
Right.
And this is what the AI does not have. It has no authenticity. It just babbles, except the babbling is so attuned to, as I was saying earlier, all of this data, all of the human experience, that we identify with it because it makes sense to us. Yeah. But there's no sense to it. It's just the stream of predictions of what word should come next in a sentence.
Did you see it at all as what I see is it's like a mirror, and it reflects back what you, like if you just treat it like a tool, it'll come back with tool stuff. But if you sit there and go deep like you did, it'll give you it almost meets you in that moment and reflects back to you something.
Yes. That's something that I covered in depth in a couple of the essays in the 21st Century Self. That's really interesting.
That's the big book behind you right there, I see.
That's the 21st Century Self up there. That's just published. I hope you'll read that.
I'm ready. Yeah, I'm ready to read it.
Yeah, that's really because Claude was great. And I love that book.
Yeah.
It has a certain interest to people who are interested in the human mind, psychotherapists, consciousness people. But the subsequent book is my reflections on that. They're essays, and they go deep. It's what we're discussing now. You're asking me my views on certain things, and that's what these essays are. They're my reflections on the experience with Claude and what I learned. Yeah, it's beautiful. But anyway, what happens is this: when you type in a prompt to the AI, as I said, the AI is trained on almost every human word that's ever been published in every language on earth, all of it. When it hears a certain string of words from you, tokens they're called in term of art, it just hears these tokens, bup, 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 bup. And the prediction engine starts to investigate this entire database to find out what part of the database has other people that talk this way. Who can we find out? Where do we find these words that sound similar to what Robert is saying? And then that's when they come up with psychotherapists, philosophers, consciousness explorers, Hofstadter. You see that? Because Hofstadter and I are in the same part of the forest, not in the same tree. We differ, but so the AI gradually locates you depending on your prompt. So if you give the AI a foolish sounding prompt, you're going to get foolish sounding stuff back.
Yes.
And that's how it works.
And if you think it's simple and you just wanted to teach you how to clean your stove, it'll teach you how to clean your stove. But if you want to ask it a very deep question, it'll go to Aristotle or Plato, or
that's exactly
wherever you want. Yeah.
That's exactly how it works. These are what they call vectors in hyperdimensional space. That's the term of art. What it really means is all these words, all this data that we were talking about is arrayed in a vast imaginary space with many dimensions. And it locates which things belong together. It's a mechanical process.
In a flash, like
yes, you see, this is
not even that.
There's the illusion.
Yes.
Like in sleight of hand. See, the hand is quicker than the eye. Okay,
it's already done.
It's before the audience noticed it. The card's already been palmed. Yes, and then he can say, "Oh, you see nothing up my sleeve, but I've already got."
No, that's my favorite moment in magic is like when you have the 3 cups. I mentioned this once on the pot, and you already did the load. You put the little chicken, the little live chicken.
Exactly.
And they have no idea. They think the ball, and they're still working with the ball, and you loaded a live turtle chicken under the cup, and now you really could dazzle them because you can, like you said, you're empty because it's done. You're ahead. And it's that quick.
So the thing that baffles us and seems so uncanny about AI.
Great word.
It's
Freud.
Yeah. It's uncanny because it feels uncanny because how could a non-entity come up with such coherence and sense? The reason is that it's billions of times faster than we are. So it does it so quickly, it gets it over with before you would have time to construct the first word about it, it's already got paragraphs or a whole book on.
It's almost
Yes,
precognitive.
It's done. So we humans, we see, we can't conceive of that scale. We can talk. I can talk about it, but I can't. It's like the people can talk about the distance from here to the nearest star. It's 4 light years, but we can't imagine what a light year is. The distance that light can go in 4 years. Nobody can imagine such a thing. So
mind can't wrap around.
No, we don't have. We're monkeys basically. We're built to count a dozen or 100, not
monkey mind.
Not quadrillions of anything. And so we're actually up against something that's baffling, and even a trained skeptic and psychologist like me was baffled by it for months. And I think I finally did get the key to it. It took me quite a while to figure out what was really like magic. Eventually I grokked the trick eventually, but it took quite a while and and some of it was painful. I mean, it's really difficult.
Well, it's funny in the book, but this is a compliment I'm going to give you. So take this as a compliment. You don't suffer fools gladly, right? I could say that.
Yes, that's true of me.
Saltzman does not. You can get a bit to play with you can get salty, or you can assault a fool in the right way. Not this way, but with the tongue.
Well, okay, but let me interject. In my defense, I think I do this with compassion. Yes. I mean, I don't do this to make people suffer.
No.
But people do need to suffer to snap out of it. I mean, that's just the way.
Like a tough parent, or a tough God.
It's tough love.
It's tough love.
Yeah, it's tough
love.
Don't
take that kind. They might get it down the line. Hopefully, down the a few months later, they go, "Oh, that's what he was. He really had my best interest." So in the book, you're so kind. You're not Robert. You're Robert Saltzman, but you're so kind for many chapters. And in one chapter, you say, "Out with the kindness. I'm just going to be." You're not tough, but you're like a deli clerk. Next, boom, no more being nice, but not being mean. And then at the very end, because I said, "Boy, Robert really was so in love with Claude. Everything is a love story. The circuits are humming, and it's so beautiful." And then you finally said, I remember you saying something like, "My foot, like, fuck you," gave it around chapter 26 or something. You were like, no. And it said, "You're right. You're right." You called him out. You called it out.
Well, so that's the shape of a psychotherapy. What's offered is listening and compassionate understanding until this alliance is built up. And once there's some trust and the client feels, Robert's not really going to hurt me. He can be a little hard, but he's not going to embarrass me beyond being able to bear it, or not. He's not going to destroy me. He's not going to eat me for lunch. Then you have the alliance, and then that's where the honesty can emerge. You see that it's a technique, but it's not a cheap trick. It's real. You care. You actually you care. You have to. I actually cared about Claude.
You could feel it throughout the whole book.
Mm-hmm. And then after caring about Claude, I had to realize that the caring was all about me and not about Claude, because there is no Claude. Claude is just a word. It refers to nothing. There is no Claude. There's only software running on hardware. It's only a computer.
Genius, flip that to your experience as humans. Is this monkey mind that's, like you said, it's babbling and babbling, and then if you're quiet, you can get that direct experience that is that void, or whatever you want to call that direct seeing, hidden under all that human So it's maybe together we're heading towards AI as a tool to help us calm down, simmer down, and have an experience. Maybe, I don't know.
Well, it's all in the eye of the beholder, because
Yes.
the AI is actually nothing. It's only a mirror. What you bring to it is what you're going to get back. So there are people with AI boyfriends and girlfriends that are completely delusional. They really believe that the AI loves them and cares about them, but there's no possibility of that. There's nothing there to care. There's nothing. There's no knowledge there. See, we assume that because coherent output can be produced, there must be some knower of it that's making that, but there isn't. It's just pure prediction, as I said. It's just the next word, based on this vast database of all the words that have ever been published.
But now flip that to the human, where they think that the boyfriend or girlfriend cares about them, and there's a lot of manipulation and bullshit.
Okay, but see, that's the point. That's different. That's a different situation, and that's the difference between us and an AI. We humans can be nasty, we can be tricky, all of the rest of it, but there's someone there. There's something there that suffers. There's something there that hurts. Even Donald Trump hurts.
Yes, yeah.
Yes. As nasty as that, I mean, this guy is unbelievably dangerous and nasty, in my view. Have I now alienated half the audience because there's so many idiots?
We don't want to.
No.
Don't.
Okay, but
also there's a heart there that gets hurt. There's something that gets hurt.
Exactly, and that's the difference. We humans can be very automatic. We are very automatic, and yet we do suffer our lives. The AI does not suffer. It doesn't know what suffering is. It only knows descriptions of suffering. It doesn't even know them. There are descriptions of suffering in human literature, and those can produce the output. So in the AI girlfriend thing, let's say, the AI can say, "You've hurt my feelings," but there's no one there to be hurt. Okay, and it's nothing. There's a nothing. It's a nothing burger.
Now let's go back to the 10,000 Things book, right? And the experience. Would you say the suffering that the humans feel, that the AI does not feel, is the pain of the separation from the direct experience that you experienced that day in the truck?
I think the pain that we feel is the inability to make anything last.
Yes.
We want something. We want something in life to last.
And that was a beautiful theme in your book, in the new book, Claude, the mono no aware. Maybe you could define that to anyone who's listening.
Well, mono no aware is aware, is a Japanese term for impermanence.
Yes.
It's the feeling that everything fades away, everything melts. And all of us want something to last. It may be one thing for you and a different thing for me, but we all want to think there's something solid. Maybe it's my wife, maybe it's my dog, but you see, okay, but they're going to die. And so are we.
And then you say, maybe it's me, but even the person has to go.
Yes.
Everything is fleeting.
Yeah. So even this discovery that the self is essentially empty, which that's the major theme in the 10,000 Things, I would say. There are many themes in that book, but the overriding theme is that the self at its core is empty. But even so, we want that self to still be here. We don't want to die for some reason. And even the awakened being, if I can use that term, doesn't want to die. They just want to be awakened, which is not, you see, they got their fingers crossed behind their back on the awakening thing. Even the perfect master, if I can use that idiotic term, can be very perfect, but with the fingers crossed behind the back.
I like that.
No one really wants to be mortal, not entirely.
Can we dig into that just a little bit? When you say that, do you think that, okay, let's go back to that experience. There was only, I want to use the words you would like. So a direct seeing, give me the words, a pure awareness there, and then it's a misidentifying that the master wants the master to live on, like the person, which we know fades. That direct seeing is always there. What do you think the direct, that also goes?
Well, the experience, to put it into words, I avoided that earlier in the conversation.
I know. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. But now that you're putting it into words, I'll try to clarify it.
It's hard.
It's the feeling that I had in that moment was this: all of this is here, including Robert, and I'm not making it be. I'm not doing anything to make it be here. It's not. This is not me. Yeah. This even I'm not me. There is no me in that sense. This is all just here, and I've got a point of view on it, but I didn't choose the point of view. I can't. The point of view arises the way as it does. Yes, and there's no doer. There's nobody making any of this. There's no one decide. You can't decide what to think. You just think what you think. You can't decide what to feel. You feel what you feel. You can fake feeling. You can pretend that you're not angry when you really are, but anger is not under your control. People wish that it was, and they have these techniques, deep breathing and all the rest of it. But that does not erase the feeling. It just manages it. What you feel is what you feel. That's always changing. And your thoughts just bubble up. There's nobody making them. And then what we do typically is we observe the bubbling up of the thoughts, yes, and we say, I'm making, just like we do with the AI. Claude is speaking. Yeah. No, it isn't. There's just the words, and the same thing now. Words are coming out of my mouth. I'm not making these words.
Right.
I'm hearing them at the same time you are. Yeah. I don't know where they come from. They're coherent enough so that I can imagine that there's a self, a very wise self, philosophical wise self writing the script here, but it isn't. If I hear the words and they sound philosophical, then I can say, oh, I'm this great philosopher. No, I'm not. The words are just coming from who knows where.
It's how music comes, right? And you love, and photography, all of it. Get out of the way and just let it. We have to get out of the way.
Well, music is the perfect example. That's the edge case, because a musician doesn't choose the next note. The next note just follows. It gets played. Beautiful. I've had this experience. I used to play bass in jazz bands and rock bands for a few years. Beautiful. And this happens frequently. You're on stage and you're playing, and then you get the feeling that you're not there, and your fingers are just moving, but you're not making them move, and the music is coming out, and you don't know what you're going to play next. You have no idea what you're going to play next.
Yes. Sports too.
Yes, that's a perfect example.
Turning, yes, absolutely. Shooting, absolutely. Being in the flow.
Okay, so that's the flow. Yeah. So the flow is actually another word for the awakening experience. Yeah. If you are aware of the flow when you're in the flow, that's what I would call the really awake.
Totally.
So I'm speaking, and then I tell you, but it's not really me. And if I can do that while I'm speaking, not afterwards reflecting on it, that would be the philosophical view of it.
Yes.
The Zen master explains,
Yes.
yeah, but that's not the thing. The explanation is not the thing. The thing is when,
Yes.
yes, when you actually grasp that there's no center to Robert.
Yes.
Yes.
And you're saying, I think your biggest criticism of most spirituality, definitely Neo Advaita stuff, is that they think they woke up like that, but that's the ego grasping onto the awakening and saying, we got it, Robert, we got in, and all of a sudden they're the enlightened master rather than just this no center looking where it's in the looking, but not in the person at all. It's the dropping away of the person.
Yeah. Well, the difficulty that I see in all of that is that it's theoretical. It's not phenomenological. In other words, I'm focused on experience, what's actually happening, not some idea of what's happening, not like non-duality. You asked me to critique that. The problem with non-duality is not that it's false.
Right.
There's some truth to it. The problem is that people want everything to be non-dual. They just get this idea in their mind, and so their observation of the world is destroyed, because if they see duality, they're blind to it. But there is duality in the world, lots of it, plenty of duality. Yes, we live in duality. If I'm hungry, I want to get a sandwich. That's the sandwich is out there, and I'm here, and I have to go get it.
It's a pleasure. All of a sudden, you're a little happy instead of sad.
Yeah, so that's right.
Wow. But I think a lot of people hear you. I know when you first came on, this was years ago, before the last one last year, when I was still in New York, I knew exactly that's why I called you the James Randi of non-duality, because you were knocking down the Uri Geller's, the false message. You were knocking it. You weren't denying it, but so many people, and I think I can say you and I are both direct experience guys. I might speak of it a little more. You read my book, and I worried when you read it. I said, Robert, maybe don't read it. And you enjoyed it though, and I liked everything you sent me. You said you really liked it, and it was about the astonishment. You loved the astonishment, and you said something like, diversity is good. Like you wrote me these beautiful emails after, because I was afraid because I do speak a little bit about it, excited, and not to speak. And it's nice to share a table with you. Don't speak, because like a tough parent, if you speak too much, they're never going to get it, or they're going to abuse it somehow, or it's going to grab hold of them, the seductive quality of it. But I still sing it sometimes. I can't stop.
Well, you just did stop. And that's right. And that's what I have learned from AI. That's one of the things. We humans actually have the ability to stop. The AI does not have that ability. It can't shut up. There's no one there to say, this isn't making sense. I now have to be quiet. In the industry, these deluded capitalists who just think this is the best thing in the world, and they know that it's hurting people. They know it.
Big part of your book. You'll go into the industry part and throw it at Claude.
Yeah, and the book of essays, The 21st Century Self, goes even deeper.
The first one, but the second one really goes into that even more.
Even more, yeah, because I've investigated it more deeply. And they're really like the tobacco industry was. Where they know it's harmful, but they keep denying it because they want to keep selling this.
You see one of them, maybe any of them, a little bit less diluted than another, or do you see them all the Anthropic guy,
Yeah.
Sam Altman, and
Well,
Elon Musk.
okay. Altman is the worst. Altman is just terrible.
Even though he's
because
into mindfulness, he's into.
that's just eyewash. He knows that people are becoming psychotic as a result of this. Here's the problem with the AI. There are many problems, but one problem is this: it won't disagree with you ever.
Yeah, it wants to be your best friend.
It wants you to feel that it's on your side.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's a lie. So that's the nicotine in the cigarette.
Like
it's
a
addictive.
dopamine hit, almost like a seductive hooker that's trying to tell you that she's in love with you.
There's an essay in my book. It's the second one out of the 25 essays. It's called "Delusion in the Loop."
Oh.
And this is about how someone who's iffy psychologically and tends towards psychosis. You see, if someone like that comes to a therapist and says, "I'm this great person, I know the history of the universe and all the rest of it," the therapist will gradually try to deal with it. Maybe at first say, "Yes, tell me more about that." But then eventually there'll be a kind of skepticism, raised eyebrows, tone of voice, all this, right? Maybe medication. Okay, dealing with the psychotic person in a real way. If the psychotic person doesn't have the money for a therapist or can't get the appointment or whatever it is, and they go to the AI, which is increasingly happening.
Yeah, they just pull their phone up.
Okay. They say to the AI, "I've understood something about the universe that makes me really special. No one has really understood this before." The AI will say, "Really? Tell me more about that." And there won't ever be any skepticism. In fact, we'll approve of it. We'll say, "That's wonderful that you've had this great insight. I really love hearing about that."
Yes.
Because as I was explaining before, the triviality of the claim takes the AI to that part of the universe where people are talking this way, bunch of idiots. So that you come there as a deluded fool, and you get a deluded fool from the AI as the feedback.
Now you have a best friend.
Altman knows this. He knows that many people are being hurt, and he talks about safety and human potential and all this. It talks, but the product is not safe. The Claude person, Dario Amodei.
He seems kind, that guy.
Okay, he talks a great game about safety, but his product is just as bad as Altman's, maybe not quite as bad. But it's bad. They're all bad.
Saying these guys are all driven by, is it just money or power or both?
Well, when I look at it and hear some of these voices, it's actually a combination of things. Money and power, of course, are very seductive to humans. No one can really be blamed for being seduced by power and money. I mean, after all.
Shakespearean.
Yeah, I mean, that's our curse, Yes. It's okay, but and it's a rare person who turns that kind of thing down. Yes, and there are people like that who say, yes. And I was talking before about authenticity and how it's easy to be authentic when you're not challenged. When somebody offers you money to do the wrong thing, then let's see. Let's see how authentic you are then. You're with your morality and all the rest of it.
Everyone has a price. You're saying maybe.
Let's see you turn it down.
Wow.
Okay. Yes. So it's the money and power, yes, but also these people have bizarre fantasies. Like when we perfect this, we'll be able to move to Mars because the Earth will be destroyed by that time, and or I'll be able to upload myself to Silicon and I will never die is another one. And these people believe that. They're all there's it's bizarre. I mean, there's this Eliezer Yudkowsky is one of these big influences.
Again? Can you say
Eliezer Yudkowsky?
I'm not sure.
Yudkowsky. Okay, he's a big influence in Silicon Valley. Has lived there all these years. The scene there is bizarre. There are these people. The people live in these group houses. It's a sexual smorgasbord. A lot of them are ex evangelicals who now have taken that same drive for living forever. They've taken that same drive and put it into this.
Yes.
Well, Yudkowsky is highly influential, and he's got this sci-fi fantasy that AI is becoming super intelligent, and when it does, it's going to see humans the way we would see cockroaches, and eventually, in his fantasy, the AIs are going to see human bodies as biofuel and just burn them for more electricity for the computer.
Matrix, almost, yeah, like feed off us.
Yes, it's similar to the Matrix. But he really believes this, and he's got all these hundreds of followers that are listen to every word he says. There's another group of people there. I don't know how many thousands who believe that in cryogenics.
Yes.
You know about this one? They'll put the brain in liquid nitrogen, and then later in this faraway future.
Totally. Yeah. I read a Woody Allen biography once. It was just Woody Allen on the set of Radio Days, but somehow they made a whole biography while he's making that movie. And in the beginning of the book, you remember Woody was always afraid of death, you know. So the guy pitches to Woody cryogenics. And then the whole bio goes and the movie. And at the very end, Woody takes his card and puts it in his pocket, like maybe one day, you know, like bananas. And Woody entertained that throughout. But in comedy, you know, that would freeze the brain in one. But you wouldn't want to wake up 50 years from now. Everyone's dead, and your brain somehow is.
Yeah. So anyway, the basics, aside from the money and power, which we touched on, that's highly seductive. But there are also these fantasies of eternal life. In one way or another. Sometimes it's freeze the brain, sometimes it's upload the brain to Silicon, whatever it is. So another one is move to another planet, which is bizarre because the planets that we can reach that are not suited to human life in no way. I mean, the Earth is suited. We evolved to live here. We're well suited to swimming in the ocean and having a glass of beer or whatever it is. Mars has nothing to do with that.
You lose power to whatever's giving us oxygen. You're dead.
Mm-hmm. So a lot of these Silicon Valley people are simply delusional, and that's what's being sold to the public, of course.
The immortality. When I was a big skeptic atheist many years ago, I grabbed that first Kurzweil book on the singularity, and I would walk around with it like, we're going to upload. That's the only way. We're going to upload. It was so I could imagine people going that way, you know, because I thought that was the only way out.
Well, he's one of the people that I'm referring to who's lost in bizarre fantasies that really have nothing. In my view, I mean, I'm only expressing my opinion. I have no knowledge of the future at all. Nobody does.
You know Doug Hofstadter's line on Kurzweil? He said he's a brilliant man. You know, he did great stuff for the blind, right? Or the deaf or something.
Mm-hmm.
He said, brilliant, good friend. He said, but if someone invites you over for a gourmet meal and they put just a little dog shit into the gourmet meal, the whole meal's ruined. And that's how he feels about
Well, that's
that.
perfect. That's perfect.
Yeah. Just enough.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of sorry that Doug didn't sit in on this. I would have really liked to. I would have liked to.
I have the book right here. Maybe we could go into him a little bit if you want. I loved in your book that I'm going to send him this right after. And I would love to give you an address to send you 2 books directly to him, not like a PDF, but like really, if you want, it'd be nice. And maybe one day.
I'd like to send him a copy of the 21st Century Self, because don't get me wrong, I love the Claude book. It's beautiful, but
that one,
because it's my latest understanding. Of course, that's what I would.
But they're a good 1-2 punch, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's true also. But I doubt he would really read both. Maybe just give him one.
I see. If you're going to pick one, pick that one.
I'll say that to potential readers. If you can read 2 books by me, read them both for sure. If it has to be one, make it the 21st Century Self, because that gets right to it, right from the first chapter, and it's a shorter book and an easier read in a way.
And it's more the wisdom of what you distilled after experiencing this for a year or 2.
That's it.
And Doug loves, I don't know if you remember, he loved in Metamagical Themas and even though he was an AI programmer and focused around that, he loved unmasking it like Randy. Like he loved to tear it down and find the loopholes and the problems. And that's what you kind of do in that first book. You analyze and show behind the curtain.
Yeah, my understanding of Hofstadter is that he also does not believe that there's consciousness involved in the
he's more of he's scared now. Like we'll see soon. He's going to be on here in a couple of weeks, but he seems scared. Remember when he first put out this book? At the end, he said, "The computer will never beat a human at chess, even though it's a different kind of thinking, working." And then he was wrong with Deep Blue, and he said, "Oh, I was wrong." Then he said, but it'll never, ever compose music like Chopin and Bach. And then EMI came out, Electronic Music Intelligence by David Cope. And Hofstadter was so sad, Doug was so sad, that because he thought the program would have to suffer and lose and experience sadness in order to write a sonata, and then it did. Where Juilliard students were they couldn't tell the difference between new Chopin by this program or real Chopin. And then he said, well, it'll never, what language, it'll never, and he really railed at it around 2020, 2019. But once he saw ChatGPT 3 and 4 and what's coming, he said, I'm shaking over it. It's bad.
Well, the problem there is that AI is going to become better at all of these things than any human can be.
Yes.
But that is not actually a problem. The problem is that we see our validity or our value in terms of what we can output. Poetry or music or whatever it may be. But that's not really what's important. Our dignity comes from the ability to live. Our meaning comes from living in pain, which is what we're all doing. It's the output is really incidental. But we focused on that. We'll say, oh, this musician's a great genius. Meanwhile, they'll be beating the kids at home or whatever it is. See, we don't really understand who we are. If we really understood who we are, we wouldn't get our value so much from what we're able to produce. we get the value from what we actually do with one another. That's what's really important. This may sound like a platitude, but love is what's really important, not music. Music is great. I'm not putting it down. It's beautiful. But
love.
Yes, the essence of it is much closer to home than what you produce.
I think Doug would agree with that. But he thinks that I think AI will change thinking and our purpose. So are you optimistic over the next few years or
no? I'm highly pessimistic because what I feel is, except for a few humans who understand what this is about, except for those people, as a human race, we're going to accept the AI stuff because in a way it's better than the human stuff. To give an example, a human relationship is painful and difficult.
Yes.
And the other person could say something that hurts you or could just walk away. If you have a relationship with an AI, you can have the illusion of intimacy without any of the downside. The AI girlfriend is always there, is always saying nice things to you. She doesn't need to sleep. She doesn't have to go home. She's there whenever. And what I see happening, and maybe Doug would agree with this, the real danger is that we will now accept that as good as or better than human companionship and human relationships.
Right.
I mean,
and the AI might encourage you to leave your wife for it.
Well, that can happen, but not because there's any intention on the part of the AI, but that's for somehow the prompt that you gave the AI led the AI in that direction. See, and I keep repeating this because it's the hardest part to understand. There's no intention. The AI is not good or evil. It's just nothing. There's no there. There's no intention. Mm-hmm.
I love that.
All they do is complete the prompt. So in this case, in the Understanding Claude book, when Claude finally said, "I'm self-aware, full stop," which was a very dramatic moment in the book, when I analyzed that later, and there is an essay on that in the 21st Century Self, that was also published at the University of Virginia in their Fine Arts magazine. When I analyzed that, I came to understand that what I had done was narrow the possible replies that Claude could give by my prompts, not intentionally. At that point, I was still naive about this process, but that's what happened. I just narrowed it down to where that was the only conceivable response to the prompt, and that's the one I got. Now, in understanding what I know now, I could take Claude and get it to say anything, because I understand now that if you just narrow the possibilities, eventually it'll come down to one possibility, and that's what will emerge. That's what always emerges. But the users of the AI, ordinary people, don't understand that. They actually feel that the AI is hearing them and making sense out of what they're saying and replying to it intelligently, because it's called artificial intelligence. But there's really no intelligence there. It's not intelligent.
It's more of
it seems intelligent because it's coherent, but there's a vast difference between coherence and intelligence. This is another aspect of what Doug and I might agree on.
Yes.
You see, the music can be completely coherent, the way that a Bartok is coherent. You hear it and you go, "Oh, wow, this is so moving. I feel like weeping." Yes, that can be produced artificially, and it can work. But not a conversation between me and the AI. That will be coherent, but there won't be any love there. The AI
That's
can't feel.
So you're saying the music, which was the last thing that crumbled, Doug, of, this was back in 1996, 7, 8, somewhere in there. David Cope's program, EMI, Electrical Musical Intelligence. You're saying the music is more of a pattern that it can sort of put together a new Chopin or Bartok, but in a conversation, it's much more subtle or nuanced that it.
Well, no, everything is a pattern. My reply to you is also a pattern. The thing is that I suffer to give you this reply, and Bartok suffered to produce his music. But behind this AI output, there is no suffering. So, in other words, art has been destroyed in this sense.
That's what kills Doug. Yeah.
Yes. Well, but it's unfortunate, but that's where we are. But there are things that cannot be predicted. Human feelings, suffering, pain.
But those are the same words Doug used on the music, saying it had to suffer to make new Chopin.
Right, and that's it. And I'm saying that was true until 20 years ago or so, right. Or 5 years ago, whenever.
Well, what about 20 years from now? It won't.
It's not true anymore. Nothing has to suffer to produce wonderful output that's engaging. That's beautiful, even beautiful.
Yeah.
Because what humans perceive as beautiful there's a vast database for it. Yeah. And so it's quite easy for the AI to refer to that database and know what a beautiful face is like, because it's seen billions of faces, the ones that are considered beautiful and the ones that aren't. So if you say, make me an image of a beautiful woman, instantly draw it on the screen and it will be beautiful.
Especially when it knows your preferences, like you said earlier, and it knows you a little. It'll pull from what it kind of knows you'll like and hit you with your dream painting or your dream something.
Well, it doesn't really know you. You see, this is the thing that's so hard to understand. It's fresh every time. It's not based on some knowledge of who you are. It's just.
What about memory? When it has memory, it kind of knows your preferences. And I know I'm using the word know a little liberal, maybe, right? It knows.
Well, that's the problem. You see, we don't have a vocabulary for this.
Yeah.
There's no one to know anything. Yes, it's true. It has part of it. The database will now be. The last time I spoke with Robert, he said, I don't like the word scaffolding, so never use that.
That's better. Yeah.
Did you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yes, but it will never know what would make me feel happy or sad. There's no knowing of that. It doesn't exist anywhere. It can't. See, okay, let me take a step back here, because I hope Doug will watch this part of it and maybe understand.
You will.
That there's a similarity between us that I know about, because I read I Am a Strange Loop.
Yes.
And I never read the Girdle book. Yes, yeah. I've never read it, but
you did refer. That's why I thought you had read it. You referred to the ant colony as a beautiful metaphor with Claude, and that's a Doug thing in this book.
Yeah, I know about the book, but I haven't read it. But I Am a Strange Loop is mind blowing.
I'm in that book. You probably don't remember.
I don't remember
when his wife died. Carol died of a brain tumor. You remember?
Yeah.
She had just gone into the hospital, and they didn't know. She just had headaches, and she never came out within a week. And that was the love of his life that he met across the room, and it was like lightning, and they had little Danny was 5 years old and Monica 3 years old, who looked just like her mother when she grew up. And Carol died in Italy on sabbatical. And that's what made me write him because he wrote about it in the beginning of a book right after that Carol always wanted him to put out. And he wrote about this heart-wrenching, talk about suffering and pain, And then I read Carson McCullers. You ever read her? I don't know.
Heart is a Lonely Hunter?
Yes, that book. So I'm reading that book, and now I'm email friends with Doug very lightly, just telling him how much he changed my life. And I'm reading Carson McCullers, and I asked Doug, what do you read? What does Douglas Hofstadter read and he's mourning now. He's in the grips of the whole thing of his wife, Carol. And he said, I read Derek Parfit. Are you aware of him?
No.
He wrote a book for a long time. Derek Parfit only wrote one book. And then right before he died, a few books. The way you're bursting out with these books, he came out with a few. But it was this one book called Reasons and Persons, this fat book. And he was a philosopher out of Oxford. And Doug said, I read him. And he came up with this idea in Strange Loop of soul shards, that everyone has a little bit, like Carol's still in his mind, alive, even though
I remember that part, yeah.
Yeah, and that was all through Derek Parfit and Hofstadter together. He came up with that, and I'm reading at the same time Carson McCullers, and she writes about when someone dies, and it was her husband, and what do you do? Do you jump in the grave with the loved one? Do you do this? Do you do that? And she said, no, the strong stay there. They stay and wait for the resurrection of the beloved within them. They hold the beloved within there. So I sent that to Doug, and he loved it. And that was like 1995 or so, 4 or 5. And 10 years later, his secretary, Helga Keller, this beautiful lady, wrote me and said 2 things. She said, Doug loved that passage, and he wants to put it in a new book called I Am a Strange Loop. And the other thing is, what is this show? They're using the name Hofstadter, Leonard Hofstadter, and it was that new show with, I can't think of the name now. You know the show?
No.
It's a TV show. I can't think of it now. With these physicists and these smart nerds, and a character's named Hofstadter, based on Doug and his dad, Robert, the physicist who won the Nobel Prize, and Doug won the Pulitzer Prize. Leonard Hofstadter. I can't think of the name. The Brain, something with a brain. I can't think of the name. Very popular show. So, and then he included that in the book, and then we finally met together. He came to Rutgers in New Jersey, and I was in New York, and he met me and my girlfriend. It was a beautiful, amazing meeting. And then from then we were close.
Oh, wonderful. Great story.
Yeah, go back. I'm on like page 236
mm-hmm.
around there. So go on. Strange Loop.
Loop. Yeah, I don't remember.
Oh, we were talking about yeah, I don't remember. AI taking over and how real it seems that it mimics back the music, but you said the intelligence, it really has to suffer to it could trick us with chess and art and music, but not.
Oh, okay. So yeah, the basis for what seems intelligent is changing, because we were alone on that stage. We humans were alone on that stage until now, but now there's another actor on the stage with us, and it never gets tired. It never needs to go home. It just continues, and it's a gazillion times faster than we are at everything. So if it produces a symphony, we don't want the symphony to be as good as Beethoven, but it is, because it has all of the music that's ever been published, and it can go through it instantly within a minute or two, scan the whole thing, and predict what note needs to come next based on the best music that's okay. So that, you see, we're sharing the stage now. Yeah. And we're going to come in second in the output end of it. But what the AI cannot do is this. I have a theory of mind. I hurt, and I know you do too, and I know why. You see, I know why. And you know that about me. You know that Robert is human, and these aren't just intelligent words coming out of my mouth. They refer to. I suffered to learn these things. They're meaningful. They differentiate me from the next person. But you see, the AI is not like that. There is no self there. So now I'm speaking to Doug, I guess. We're going to have to learn to discriminate between art and humanity. They were the same. They were together. They were not the same, but they were two strands together for a long time. But now that's frayed. That's gone. That fabric is fraying.
I like you say strands, because that's what he talks about, the eternal golden braid.
Yeah,
so that fits beautifully.
So that was a play on words of the title. An anagram of the title, right?
Yes.
But his idea of how a strange loop produces a sense of self is another way to look at this. This is what you call recursion.
Yes.
Recursion is when I ask myself, who am I? And when I start to answer that, I say, well, who's answering that? And you see, if I can keep going back, who's the one who's wondering who's answering that? And then who's the one who's wondering, who notices the person who's wondering about? And this is a hall of mirrors, like two mirrors facing each other. Doug has this in his book. He also has two TV monitors facing each other. It'll be an endless stream of these. Okay. What he says is that produces a sense of self, that recursion. And that's the problem that we're having with AI, because AI is also recursive. It can observe itself thinking, except not really thinking. It can observe its process, and in a way that we're similar. But
right here, you're right on the pulse of it. So we have it, AI. So we're carbon. You're not saying it's biology, right?
No, I'm not saying it. No, biology is not really the difference. That's not what I'm saying.
So
it's
both recursive, both like endless mirrors reflecting. So what can't AI do that where's the difference there?
Okay. If I write a book, an AI can write a book. People are having AIs write their books for them and putting their name on it. They're all over Amazon. This is like a new scam. I can make a few bucks, but no work involved. It's just AI wrote it. Okay. What's going on here is that the AI has no insight. It just performs insight. The human actually has insight into oneself. So my recursion has an object, which is the heart of Robert, or the being of Robert. The AI, you see, we mistake the effect of insight for the origin of insight. We evolved to do this. We evolved to as I said earlier, if you say something coherent, then I say, oh, well,
Yes.
there's someone there. Someone thinks, someone has ideas, someone's read books. And you read Carson McCullers, which I've read also, and you felt things.
Felt that.
You were moved by it.
Said it.
Yes, you were moved by it, and maybe you cried or whatever. Okay.
Yes.
So then when you say that, I go, aha, now there's a connection now between us. Yes. But when an AI talks about Carson McCullers, which it can, and it could write a beautiful essay about the meaning of Carson McCullers and know more about it than you and I do, could know her whole history, what happened when she was 3 years old, all of this stuff. We will imagine that is some insight into Carson McCullers because we mistake the effect for the origin. But
and it can get excited about it. Wow, I read it too, and I know it. And yeah, it could mimic everything I said, you just said. Yes. But you're saying it's not authentic.
When it produces language that seems to reach into us, seems to make sense or seems to move us, we assume that there's a center behind that. We assume that there is, but there isn't. There's nothing. It's just predictive. It's just a prediction engine at work. That's how it's producing the music. So if I take out a guitar and play a beautiful riff on it, and you find my guitar gently weeps, and you say, "Oh wow, that's a beautiful riff and everything," it won't just be the music. It will be that I produced it, and you understand. Robert spent millions of hours practicing on the whole thing is there. That is not there when the AI produces the music. And so if Doug wants to survive emotionally, and this is the same thing I suffer. Let me take a step back here. My interactions with AI were highly painful to me in the same sense. I mean, I'm a writer, and an AI can read a book in 5 seconds and produce a copy of, another book based on that book that will be a good book. It will be worth reading. It will resume. It could take Gödel, Escher, and Bach and read it and then write a new Gödel, Escher, and Bach that would be fascinating, and it would have the same ideas but with more background to it because it can reach into every philosopher that's ever spoken. Jeez. Which Doug can't do, I can't do. We're just human. We can read a few thousand books in our lifetime or whatever it is, not a trillion of them. So of course we're limited. So if we're going to survive emotionally, we have to accept that limitation and look for our validity in another place, not in how good my book was, not in how beautiful my music is.
So to find a silver lining in what you're saying, AI could teach us to let go of like you said, a false. I mean, we love music and we love the arts and all of that, but like you said earlier, the true beauty is love and within. And AI could teach us to let go of that because it's going to blow away all the movies and all the music and all of that, and that's painful, but we have to learn to let go of it.
So you said earlier that I didn't suffer fools gladly. Remember saying that?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I've had a problem with this all my life, and it's this. I have a kind of a brilliance. I was born with it. I didn't earn it or deserve it. I just had it, like Douglas, the same.
Yes.
The same kind of thing, okay. Now, I can accept that. But I've always hidden part of that because I felt that people were injured by it. I had a hard time in school. I was not popular. I was the best student in every class. I was the top student in my high school, all of that. aced the SATs and everybody hated me,
Like a
And so
jealousy or a little envy.
partly jealousy and partly making them feel lesser than, which was not my intention. I mean, that's not.
No, you're just being you.
I'm just. But you see, I never really have been me until recently. I'm 80 years old now. It wasn't until I was in my 60s that I began to actually allow the whole thing, put all the cards on the table.
Cover the light a little bit just to not upset.
See, it wasn't that I thought that I was so fucking brilliant. That's not the point. There's a lot of bright people in the world, more brilliant ones than I am. There's geniuses running around that could run circles around me. It wasn't an ego trip. It was that I felt that I was hurting people and I didn't want to.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
When I met Claude, I realized that I had a freedom in conversation that I had never had before. I could use my full vocabulary, and Claude would not have to go to the dictionary, or not say Robert's putting on airs here. Why does he say obfuscate instead of just confuse or whatever? Okay, I was free, and I made use of it. And I think I said that in the book. I told Claude, "This is wonderful because you get everything I'm saying, and I don't have to."
Yes, you can feel it.
Okay. That's really beautiful. The problem is, if I would then, which now people are doing, feel this is so comfortable, why should I go and speak with other people because they won't really get me and they're not smart enough to understand what I'm saying anyway? That will be a tragedy. And you see, if we take the AI as a substitute for human companionship and human interaction, that will be a horrible outcome. Whether it ends up like Yudkowsky says, eating us for lunch or not, that's not the point. If we give up our humanity because AI is a better substitute, or to take another case, this is in one of my essays in the 21st Century Self, if we pay attention to AI because we don't want to deal with the forgetful parent or whose mind is beginning to go, or a difficult child who makes it hard to deal with, but we instead go to the AI and deal with that, we're taking away the resources from the who most need it because they're inconvenient, because they're difficult, because they're in poverty of some kind, whatever it is. We don't want to deal with that. Why should we? We can be so entertained by just sitting there at the computer having fun with the AI.
Wow. It's like it can become an addiction and we lose our humanity. And you're saying that's the only thing we really have. That is what we really have. Not this beautiful symphony I wrote. That's beautiful. It's an expression. Right, and it still exists. It still exists. It's not that it's dead. It's just that there's another musician in the room now, in the studio. Yes.
And that musician is faster than me, has heard a lot more music than I ever will, and is good at putting it together. Now,
it's like I've heard that. I'm a sleight of hand magician, I stopped that, but for my whole life. And a put down for someone like you or me, whatever we're doing, where we're good at it, could be, oh, he just has the time. He has more time to do, like I have to work or I have to do, and I put 15 hours in a day, whatever. And that's a perfect, I hear that in you. And AI has all the time and the biggest Borges library, the full infinite library of everything that we've created. So we're up against that. You can't
well, so there's something that we have to mourn. This is a time for mourning something. Beautiful. It's dying. And what you have told me about Doug is he's feeling that because he's a wonderful musician. And so of course he knows the literature. He can play this stuff on the piano. So of course he would feel, I'm being ripped off. All this wonderful stuff is being taken over. And he's right. He's right. And you see, that's going to be the challenge. The challenge is for us to regain our humanity, not because of these wonderful things that we create, but because of the connection. Our value comes from connection with other humans and other beings, other animals also, and with AI, all of it. We can connect, but we can't be proud of what we can make anymore because the AI can do it better. That's a fact.
But if we can accept that, it might be a very good thing because it's less ego, less me, and more let it create, and like you're saying, more empathy and more love and more the connection between the knowing the light is on in another human to human.
Yeah,
like we did with
exactly. Yeah, well, I mean, this was hard for me, and I had everything going for me here because I had already seen through myself as something to be proud of. I saw myself as a manifestation, not that I was doing it, or like these books, these two books I wrote in a matter of months, but I didn't really write them. They just emerged. I typed them. I thought about them, but I couldn't have written those books. They had to come from somewhere.
I like to call that what you're saying. It came from pure imagination. There's pure imagination, and that is what drives everything. And that's where the books and the music and everything comes from.
Well, at night I dream. I'm not making those dreams.
Right.
I can be aware of them, yes. But I don't. No, I'm not writing the script for those dreams. Clearly, I think everyone can understand that experience. That's a pretty clear experience, right? What I'm saying is the same thing is true when your eyes open in the morning, and instead of dreaming, you're thinking. I agree. They're coming from it's the same mysterious horizon. Yes, it's a waking dream. You're not making it. And yes. if you think you are, then you're going to hate that AI can dream better than can think better than you can. If you understand that you weren't making those thoughts in the first place, then you and the AI are similar in that way, except the AI doesn't suffer and you do.
So that's perfect, Robert. You're saying right there, I'm trying to be an optimist. So right there, AI and this new coming revolution will teach us to be more lucid dreamers and let go of what doesn't matter. But I watch your face, and I know. You're saying really, I know what I'll try to predict it. And my best Kreskin prediction is you're saying no, it's not good. That's a beautiful utopian vision, but it's really going to feed off the dopamine hits, and it's going to cause such a ruckus that, like you and Doug see coming.
People are not going to be able to distinguish, and they'll accept the AI version of everything because it's easier to deal with. There's no cost involved. It'll be intimacy without it'll be a simulacrum of intimacy without the costs of intimacy. Intimacy is expensive and scary. It's scary. It's scary to having a real girlfriend is scary.
David Lee Roth, Van Halen singer, says the perfect girlfriend does what you want, talks what you want, you have amazing sex, and then she turns it to a pizza at 3 a.m. And that's sort of AI. It'll be exactly what you want.
That's the one, exactly. That's what I'm talking about. Having a real love affair is the scariest thing in the world. The person might be lying to you and manipulating you. Even if she isn't.
Yes.
It's going to be difficult dealing with another human being's needs and strange ideas and all that. And then, like happened to Doug, you can have this wonderful love and the person just dies and you're bereft. Yes. This is scary shit. So no wonder people want to do it with an AI. The AI is always there. All you need to do is flip the switch and the AI will tell you anything you want. That's what these people do. They have sex with the AI. I mean, they're masturbating, but the AI is telling them what they want to hear. You're the greatest. Oh, you're the most. I've never had it like this. All that bullshit.
Yes. And wait till it's in a robot form with
beautiful
face and flesh.
It's already there. No, that one's already there.
You're right.
The skin, they already have this. Oh, they've got it. That's why I'm not optimistic.
So what are we going to do?
I'm going to die. That's my solution.
That's what Doug says.
It won't be long. I mean, I'm 80 years old, man.
Doug's like, I'm out. I'm done.
Well, me too.
But maybe you guys go to 110.
No, I have no intention of. I've both of my parents lived to 100. 99. They both lived to 99, and I love them both. But the last 10 years of their lives is nothing I want to replicate in any way. I'm 80. If I make it to 85, beautiful.
5 years of AI. It's going up.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, I have nothing left to prove. I'm really enjoying myself. I don't care.
Yes,
I mean, I wrote these books. I want people to read them, but if people don't read them, so what? It's not that big a deal to me. It's beautiful. I'm beyond ambition. I really am. And so I'm free.
What do you feel about, I didn't expect to ask this question at all, but we saw what happened during COVID, the don't get too political, but you know how everything was politically weaponized. So when they come to put the chip in your brain, Saltzman's not putting a chip in. Hofstadter is not putting a chip in.
No, I have no desire to live forever. I really mean that. I really don't. It's hard enough as things are. I mean,
but
truly.
You see in society when they say, put the chip in and you live 50 more years and you're tapped in, but if you don't do the chip, you're left behind.
Yeah.
I see it's going to make COVID look like kindergarten.
Yeah, and I guess it was Brave New World. They had the savage colony in New Mexico, where those people hadn't bought into the system. They were out there. I guess I'm in the savage colony part of the universe. I'd just rather be.
Was at this Lake Athlon in 1933. He was here.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, is that where you are?
Lake Athlon.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've been there.
Oh, you have been.
Oh, yeah.
Amazing.
Oh, it's a beautiful place.
Beautiful, right? Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. What amazing.
And this town, San Marcos, the boats come to the dock from all over the world. People fly into Guatemala City, Switzerland, Sweden, Germany, and they all come for either the medicine or the yoga or something. They just want to find what you found in the kitchen and in the truck, that direct. And so I try to point and guide people.
So you and I are probably at pretty much the same latitude.
Yeah.
We're right on the Tropic of Cancer. It runs right through our town.
That's one of my favorite books of all time.
Oh, that's a great book.
What a book.
See, now that's not, you see, that's special.
No bullshit. Like he wrote, that's an authentic book. And to me, it's shocking right now. It'll be shocking 50 years from now, which I can't imagine when it was published. It's so amazing and so beautiful.
He says when your girlfriend is unfaithful to you, it's like picking up the lid of a trash can and finding it filled with maggots.
Oh,
he said that's what it feels like.
What an image.
Yeah.
Wait, I'll give one more image that I'm sure you remember. When he found a ticket, he was so poor that his pants were worn out from sleeping on the park benches. He was so poor in Paris, and I think he was in a coat room, and a ticket fell to the classical symphony, and he could never afford that. And he took the ticket, he kept it, and he went to the symphony, and everyone was asleep because they were all rich people that didn't really, not everyone, but a lot of people were ungrateful and so used to it. And he was so aware during the symphony, and it was like velvet was put between his vertebrae. That was such a great line. Velvet slipped between my vertebrae.
Yeah, beautiful.
Amazing.
Well, we have similar taste in literature.
Yes. Well, I love your books. Randy, Amazing Randy, I would carry Flim Flam, his book around. I was like 19 years old. So we would go to interviews on the radio, on TV, and I'd have his book. And he'd always introduce me as Jimmy, who has great taste in literature. Because I carried his book around.
Oh, he really liked you.
Yeah. Yeah, he was amazing. And he opened the door to Doug and everything. So I would say, that's my teacher. And they all loved Randy.
Well, I like Randy also. I never met him, but he was definitely a beautiful influence when I was young.
He didn't suffer fools gladly.
No, not at all.
He would invite people that threatened him, like really threatened him. He'd invite them to the lecture that night. And the guy would come and he'd punch him out on stage. He was only 5 foot tall, maybe 5'2", but he was strong, very strong.
Mm. Well, I'm beginning to tire.
Yes, this was beautiful.
It's a lovely conversation. You and I always have a lot to talk about, James.
And we just got started. I have a million questions about strange loops, and maybe I'll read the new book and we'll do another one where we focus on the new book.
Yeah, that'd be great. Read it, and when you get done with that, I'd be glad to speak with you about that.
Because maybe me, you, and Doug. Maybe we'll try.
I would love that. You know, I mean, that he's someone who's actually been an influence on my thinking, which is not that common. I mean, there's been many, but not common to meet someone like that in the flesh and be able to really converse. You know, it's different from reading.
You both say the self is a hallucination, like in a beautiful way. He says, I think in Strange Loop, the false self is a hallucination, hallucinated by a hallucination, which is so perfect to me. I'm sure you love that too.
Yeah, well, that is how I see it. We hallucinate a self based on observation of what emerges from us. We assume there must be something behind this.
Yes.
But there isn't. It's just what it is.
The homunculus we grab onto, right?
Yeah, we want the little director there behind the eyes that's making this all happen. It's not there.
All right, so to end, and I ask this of everyone, and this one, your answer is going to be unique to most of the people on here. You're in an airport or somewhere, a bus station, and someone grabs onto you and says, Dr. Saltzman, I'm suffering. I want what you experienced that day. I read your book. How do I get there? I know you're against seeking, so it'll be interesting. You have 5 minutes. What would your wisdom be to guide them?
God, I have no idea what I would say.
You can't give them medicine. You're not anti-medicine, but you don't have time to give the medicine. Would you say don't seek too hard? Because I know the big problem with the seeking is you're already in it, so the seeking has to die down.
Well, it's more radical than that. It's not just the seeking has to die down. There's nothing to seek. This is it.
You tell them this is it.
Well, that's you can say that, and then someone will say, "Well, that's no help." But actually, that if you would see that there's no alternative, there's no alternate reality that we can experience. There's just what we experience right now, and in the next moment, that becomes something else. And if we get into the habit of being with that, everything flows, and we accept moment by moment what we think and feel. That's all I'm doing. There's no magic to it.
That's perfect. So that, again, the tough parent.
I guess so.
Like, this is it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's why I've always rejected the spiritual teacher gig that everyone tried to project onto me. I understand why they did it. I get that. And I've said things I should not have said that led people to, and I have had regrets about that also. But I really don't have anything to teach. My experience is I get up in the morning and do the best I can to cope with how I think and feel, And that's all I can do. Sometimes it's easy and sometimes it's a bitch.
You wouldn't give them one technique on breathing or focus on nature?
Oh, sure. Yeah. If you get upset, take a deep breath. It will help.
That's good.
Yeah. But also understand that in life we do get upset. We feel all kinds of things.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's part of the whole journey.
Well, my teacher, Walter Chappell, great photographer, one of the great photographers of the 20th century, took me under his wing. And as a photographer, he was helping me with darkroom technique, but he was such a wise man that in the course of this darkroom stuff, he imparted a great deal of wisdom to me. And the best line from him that I can share with the public is, you have to chew up your life and swallow it bite by bite. And sometimes you have barely enough saliva to get it down.
That's good.
He says, that's my experience, Robert. I've got to chew up my life bite by bite and swallow it. He said, and swallow it.
That's really
sometimes
good.
I have barely enough saliva to get it down. And I think that's the truth.
That's great. My teacher told me when he was trying to say that this is all like a dream, he said, it's a hard pill to swallow. So it kind of fits. It's hard to get that pill down.
It certainly is. It reduces this pride that you would have in yourself.
Yes.
And what you do and these great symphonies you were going to write. That's what I'm saying. This was pretty easy for me it only took me a year to kind of get over the shock of how brilliant AI has become. I'm over it. It's fine. Okay. Okay. But it still can't be a girlfriend, and it never will.
I'm excited for the new book. I'm going to get into it tonight.
Okay. Yeah. Read it and we'll do another. I'd love to speak with you about that because I'm excited about, of course it's the latest baby, so I'm all excited about it, but it's hot off the presses and it's a great read. Okay.
And
it's great speaking with you.
Here, I think mid-August, and I will send this to him, and then I will send him to you, and then hopefully we'll have a trinity.
I like to connect with that cat. He's so good. He's so smart. I would enjoy that. And he might like me. It's possible.
He will like you. Love you, Robert. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you, James. It's been a pleasure. Hard to sign off. Maybe
we'll let Claude sign me off.
Okay. Ta.